Hey there, Andrea Seidel here. I am the founder of Live Life Happy Publishing, and I am so excited because whenever I have author visits on the show, it makes me so excited because, as you know, I'm obsessed with books, and I love that these books, I always see them as little packages of wisdom and experience, and just it's a little dive into, or a big dive even into someone's life. And also their knowledge and expertise are just, so powerful. And so today I have a special guest on the show, Desiree A. Brown. She is the author of Unleashed, a solo female traveler's journey of discovery. Now, this book is so excited because I don't know about you, but I'm always inspired by those people that just can get out there in the world, and they are just so courageous and adventurous, and they travel. It really, I always, whenever I see posts from people or I hear about someone traveling, it's like, I get that little bit of envy inside of myself. And I just like, that is something that's definitely in the cards for me. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to Desiree A. Brown. Welcome to the show, Desiree.
Thank you, Andrea. Good to be here.
Okay, so I have read your book from cover to cover, and it is so incredible. I love that it is a memoir. It is a feature of you and your travels, and the stories and all the things that you encountered on your travels is just so exciting. And some of it's a little bit, risky and just fun. And I love delving into your world. But I also really enjoy this idea of unlocking the world. You have this amazing ability to not only allow people to kind of submerge themselves in the culture of different places and people, and just, I love that you interwove these amazing, unlocking the world into your memoir. So tell us, the listener, all about, let's start with you. Like, what makes you tick, and what inspired you to write this book?
That's such a good question, Andrea. Thank you for that fabulous introduction. Actually, this started about 16 years ago, in 2007, when I went to Africa for the first time. And I started writing these stories. I'd be inspired, something would happen to me, I would meet somebody, and then I would write an email to a friend, as a story. And then I did this a couple of times. I kept going back. And then my friends encouraged me to put all of these emails, all of these stories, as a collection into one. And that was, as I said, I started 16 years ago. And it was only last year that the time was right. It's always about timing, right? It's always about timing. And so I started working on it last year, putting everything together. And then it all came together this year. And a part of it, so they're my own stories interwoven with little snippets of history bits about the countries in which they occur, but those actually were written during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I gave myself a challenge that I would write every day. I would write a small essay of 100 words about something I was interested in. And funny enough, that was mostly about Africa. So I have these 100-word essays in between the stories about, things about Africa that are, historical bits or cultural bits and that kind of thing. So that's how it all came together. So it started 16 years ago and culminated during the pandemic, and here it is.
Ah, so exciting. And I know so many people are going to just benefit from your experience, right? Especially if they cannot travel, perhaps they can also live vicariously through you. But your whole
Yeah.
purpose of the book that I love is to inspire,
Mhm.
inspire other people to travel, and to even not be fearful of traveling alone. Can you tell us a little bit about your solo travel?
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to share, obviously, I wanted to share my stories, and encourage other solo female travelers to just step out there, especially Black women. Yeah. So pretty much to encourage, other women to go out there and experience what the world has to offer. And I think in doing that, we become very vulnerable. It is in those vulnerable moments that you discover who you really are. You're challenged, your horizon is broadened. You meet people who affect you in ways that you least expect. And that is what, all those experiences together have made me into the person that I am today.
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. They do say that, right? Like the more we get out into the world, we are being vulnerable but we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And I love this element of novelty and that, you seem so like, oh my gosh. Well, first of all, whenever people purchase this book, they're going to want to look at your picture on the back cover because you are fierce and you're just like so beautiful and so stunning and just looks and you are fierce. I've come to know you quite well. And so for those people that aren't as fierce maybe or aren't as courageous, what would that message be to them in just in terms of feeling that sense of being unleashed and is stepping into vulnerability and how so much greatness can come out of that?
The message would be one small step at a time. I mean, most of my trips are over long summer holidays, Easter holidays, but you don't have to do the entire 5 weeks or 6 weeks. You can start with a long weekend. You can start with a day trip or 2 days, in a country that's close to you that you know a little bit about, that you've done some research on. So it starts with with small steps, and then your confidence grows. And, in today's world with social media, we can be so much more prepared, because when I started traveling to Africa in 2007, I only had the Lonely Planet and I had to photocopy those pages
Are
and
you
take them
kidding?
with
Oh,
me in
that's
my.
so funny.
Yeah, that was way before social media, and it was done then. And then I couldn't walk around with an entire Lonely Planet book, but because I would just bring attention to myself. So I would memorize the chapters, go to the places, and come back, or just take one page of it, that kind of thing. So today, it's so much easier to just get out there.
I love that. I love that suggestion to start small. And even if it's just a weekend and just to, and also, yeah, research, a little bit of research before you go. And so you're very, very passionate about submersing yourself in culture and in the food of the culture. And can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So what I find most interesting about traveling is, meeting people and having conversations with them. I mean, that takes you beyond what you see on social media, in the magazines, on websites, and that sort of thing. That's when you get into the real culture of what's happening in the country by talking to people who live that experience every day. So, I find also when you're traveling on your own, it's easier to start up a conversation with somebody else. Whereas when you're in a group or with other people, it doesn't happen as easily. But when you're on your own, you're forced to ask questions, you're forced to talk to people because you're going to need some information. And, at times you're going to need help. So it's always good to just, get out there, ask a question about, what time is it? Where are you going? How can I get there? Little things like that. And then you find that, people tend to open up and invite you to places, and you have experiences that you wouldn't normally have if you just stuck to the beaten, the regular path.
Oh yeah. And you have so many stories of that and examples of that. It's like, oh, you happen to meet someone in a taxi cab or it's so amazing that when you are solo, it's so true. You do have to, engage in conversations. And I have a friend, she's a solo female traveler as well. And she's traveled all over. And she says she always looks for the Irish pub because she'll go to the Irish pub and sure enough, she'll strike up a conversation. She'll learn all about like that community and and be able to discover more. And so I do love that idea. And it's so true. Can you speak to this idea of it? And what comes up with what you're saying is almost like this empowerment. It's almost like it's sort of scary and vulnerable to do this, to get out and see the world as an adventure and unlock the world. Can you speak to how it's so empowering actually, and it builds confidence?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Brené Brown, and she talks about, she's the one who talks a lot about vulnerability. So it's in these vulnerable moments that it leads you to joy and meaningful connections with others. Because obviously, when you are talking to somebody, when you need help, that's when you're going to be most vulnerable, and you're going to be at the behest or at the mercy or of somebody else to help you. I mean, there's so many times when I've, in communicating with somebody, things are going opposite direction, not really what I want. And, a complete stranger will come up to me and offered to help me. There's stories when I've been stuck in the Sahara. My ride has gone, and I have to hang out with people who I don't know in places that I wouldn't normally. But in that moment, I meet people in the exact same situation, and we've become friends for life. I'm still in touch with them. I know about their kids and that kind of thing. And when I go back, I revisit them. So, it's in those unexpected moments when you're most vulnerable and you're most open to accepting what the universe has in store for you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And it's so true. So much development. And so what is the goal, or what do you really hope that the reader will get from reading your book?
Mhm. So I'm hoping that particularly women and other people who experience fear of going out there will be encouraged and see that things don't always go as planned. But even so, you learn so much from the experience. You're faced with situations where your own values are tested. And then in those situations, you realize who you really are. The values that you have, are they your values, or have they been your parents' values? What do you do in those situations? You've never been faced with a situation like this before. As I said, it is when you actually discover who you are. And then of course, that experience changes you.
Oh my God, that is so true. Like right now, I'm just thinking, like, if I were to travel on my own, which I have never done yet, Desiree, and the word yet is in there. So
Okay.
it's so true. You're kind of like, you can ask yourself, what would I love to do right now? And it's
Mhm.
almost like, it's like removing all other people's values and kind of like thinking, okay, and thinking about what is it that you're needing, or what do you want, and what would you value doing right now? And I just love that. It really does ignite this spirit of adventure, and
Mhm.
it and just tapping in, and so empowering, right? To tap into your self-discovery. And I know that is basically the title of your book, A Solo Female Traveler's Journey of Discovery. So if there's one last thing that you want to share with the reader, what would it be?
Do not be afraid to be vulnerable, because those are very important moments in life, pretty much. And, as I said, whatever you fear, whatever you're not feeling confident about, there's only one way to get over that. And it's to just go out there and do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as Mel Robbins says, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go book that flight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, just do it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I get this like pang of like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Like, if I were, but you know what? I think you're right. I know you're right, actually, because you're evidence of what's possible. And you've written such a beautiful memoir that's so inspiring, and people will learn and take so much away of delving into your stories and your adventures. And I have to say, I've come to know you over the process of writing and creating this book. And it has inspired me. And I do believe that solo female travel will be in my
Mhm.
future. And I'm really excited and thankful for your inspiration that you've provided, and just like you're fearless and you're an example of what's possible. So I just want to celebrate you, Desiree, and also the fact that your book is now available everywhere in the world. Wherever you purchase books, you can purchase Desiree A. Brown's book. It is called Unleashed, A Solo Female Traveler's Journey of Discovery. So I'm going to leave it one last thing with you, if you want to just share anything else.
I just, as I said, that, this took 16 years to actually put it together. And, if you're thinking of putting your story together, it doesn't have to be today, but just start, in small steps. That's how we get these things done, right? One step at a time, and just do it.
Just do it. And I love the fact that your message is going to help so many others. And you have this ripple effect that is now you have a ripple effect just being you. And then now you have a book that's going to have a bigger ripple effect on so many. And I'm just so grateful for you being here on the show today. And everyone's going to want to grab their copy. It is available as we speak. And I always do giveaways. So what I'm going to do is, if you take a screenshot of this podcast episode and you share it on social, you enter yourself in a drawing for this whole rest of the month of July. I will be taking submissions of people. Make sure you tag me in your post, and I will give away 5 copies of Desiree's book as for whoever the top 5 people that win. Okay. So that is a
Right.
wonderful thing. It's a nice gift I can give to the listeners, and you're going to love this book. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Thank you, Desiree. Now off to our launch party.